How's it going?
Yep.
All right. I have questions for you.
Okay. Shoot. I'm not even going to speak about you. I'm just going to ask you what's not on your resume.
Oh, let's not even, we'll get to that question in a minute. I have questions for the group here. So how many of you have, actually, I always ask this question. If you've been here before, you've answered it before. But how many of you have a WordPress blog? Excellent. And then how many of you have like a personal tracking device, like a Fitbit or something like that? Good. I hope you all have Fitbits. And then how many of you have an About.me page?
About me.
Excellent. All right. That's good. That's a good answer.
Good.
All right, now we're ready.
So you asked about all of these, why?
I'm always just curious to see who's in the audience and to understand how our reach on About.me is. And I've also, we've been involved with WordPress from the beginning and able to support Matt, the founder. And Fitbit is one of our largest portfolio companies. Is it true? So I'm always interested. I'm sorry?
Slack?
Yeah, and Slack also.
And MakerBot, so it's one of the first 3 people who work.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Anybody have a MakerBot? That's going to be harder. Because that's a big
Next
company.
next time.
So your question was, what's not on the resume?
Yes.
You want to start there?
Yes.
All right. There's so many things not on my resume. Let's see. I've been a umpire, baseball umpire. Strike 2, strike 3. I've been a basketball coach. I've been a tennis camp counselor. I have worked at a pharmacy. I've worked on a factory machine several summers. I was on a glue machine. And I've been a janitor. Those are things that aren't on my resume, but those are probably the most important things about me.
Why important?
Well, because I think all of us have a beginning. And I think that, if you're fortunate and you navigate and you feel like you're reaching your potential and you're moving forward, it's easy to kind of forget some of the building blocks and the foundation of who you are. And I've just been constantly reminded that, I came from a very small farming community, a wonderful little place, but something that I was outgrowing probably by the time I was 5. But it's always good to reconnect to that because it's my foundation, it's my DNA, it's who I am, it's my story.
Is this why you also do what you did last year on SparkMe? You help people create or make better about me profiles. That's not something that you would usually expect from somebody who has shares in so many successful companies and startups. So what's the why?
Well, I think that, you get to, last year you were here, I did everything from, I think Imania's here as well. You did everything from take your photograph to help you to set up your page and really learn. In fact, a lot of the things that I've learned here at Spark in doing that really helped to inform some of the decisions that we made in kind of our version 2.0 product that we released earlier this year. And I think you only get that by engaging with people. When you're a founder and you start your company and you have your vision of the way that company is going to intersect with your user's life, it's very easy, for you as a founder because it's an expression of yourself. The product's coming out of you, but as you start to scale and you get to 30 to 40 people, you as a founder and a CEO, you can no longer, control the product, right? It's just too complex. It becomes way too big. And so you see companies go through that phase and our founders go through that phase and they lose their way, right? And it's because they stop talking to the end user. And so when I see these kind of events, I think it's super fun just to go out there and just be a part of it. This year we didn't have enough time and organization to make that happen. But if I come back next year, we'll do that. So you guys, don't take any new photos, don't update your page. I'm kidding. But we can do that next year.
Yeah, I do hope too.
Yeah.
So your target market is actually college students, millennials, right?
Well, our target market is a little different. So About.me has a pretty enormous scale at this stage. And so it's a product that I think can work equally well for my 88-year-old father, to somebody like us, to a college student, to a millennial. But within that broad group of users, there's certain user groups that I think the product is ideally suited for. And so millennials in particular, and college students also in particular, I think our product is perfect for them. And it's a wonderful alternative or a complement to things like LinkedIn or the traditional resume. Because I think it captures the esprit of who they are and their story so much better than anything else out there. And so the other thing too is, a question, how many here work for yourself or are a freelancer or a contractor or a consultant? See, it's a lot of people. And that's different than my generation, right? My generation, you grow up, you kind of have a job, and that's, you do the one thing. And when you look at millennials today in New York and San Francisco, over 1/3 of all workers are what we call 1099ers, meaning independent contractors, freelancers. And that number nationwide in the US would be 40%. So it means 4 out of every 10 workers will be working for themselves. That's enormous. That's a huge cultural trend. And then when you talk to college students, 76%, 3/4, say that they'll have a secondary source of income, meaning they'll have a hobby that they turn into a job that they'll do after they go home from their other job, or that they'll do on the weekends. So when you start to think about that type of user base, you realize a product like About.me is ideally suited for them, right? Because so much of your success is really dependent on the connection that users or potential customers or clients make with you as an individual, because you are the brand, right? So, when you're thinking about hiring a photographer, you'll certainly look at their photographs, but a big part of that decision in hiring them is just, do you feel a visceral connection, right? You just gotta look at them like, oh, they look cool, like they'll get me. And so I think all that stuff we do really well about that.
So it's kind of, we all have different identities and different social networks.
Totally.
Yes. And do you see About Me as something that gathers up all of that information?
Yeah, that's the original idea. And I think when you have a company or an idea that becomes big, it means that the basis of the idea, the foundation of the idea is actually really connects, right, with people. And so this notion of our identity is really spread out in a lot of different places. And you're one person in LinkedIn, you're another person in Facebook, you're even a more fabulous person in Instagram. In Twitter, you're more random. These are all slivers of who you are, but they're just little pieces of your identity, right? I think I'm much more interesting than my LinkedIn profile. Okay, that's not to say that LinkedIn isn't a good tool. It is a very good tool. But if you're going to get to know me, I'm curious, or I want you to get to know how I see myself in a more holistic way. That, maybe I'm fascinated by skateboarding, or I'm interested in, surfing or athletics or other things. And I want that stuff to come out. And it's not going to come out on LinkedIn, it's not going to come out on Twitter, it's not going to come out on my Facebook page.
No, but it actually shows your personality in a better way.
It shows who I am as a person.
Yeah.
Right? That's the most important thing.
Okay. So you had a major change inside the company since January, right?
Yes, in January we launched.
What happened?
Yes, so what we learned, and one of the things, when you make changes, there's a lot of people that are like, I missed that. But, as a founder, I'm playing for kind of an ultimate success. I'm not interested in building a small little something. I'm actually interested in scale. And I felt like all the data that we were looking at was telling us that we needed to make some subtle tweaks to the product in order for it to fulfill its potential. And so what we learned from our user base was that so many of you are freelancers and these independent, kind of contractors. And so what we wanted to do was to strip out a lot of the features in the product which were working, but they were a distraction, right? They weren't really helping our users to get the things that they wanted to get. And then we wanted to add something back in. So essentially we stripped out a lot of the social kind of connection stuff. And part of that was because, quite frankly, you know, there are people like on any large scale platform, there's always some creepy people. You know? Yeah, just a few. And I just didn't want to be CEO, founder of a company where there was creepy interactions happening, to be honest. I don't want to be a policeman, but I also don't want somebody to feel like people are inappropriately communicating with them. So we really dialed back those kind of features. And what we did was we over-indexed on a feature we call Spotlight. And what Spotlight does is after you create your page, it asks you to put one button on the page that points people to something that's most important to you. So, you know, for me it is I want more Instagram followers actually. And so I point to my photos, but for other people it might be hire me, or it might be view or listen to my music if you're a musician. So those spotlights really are in tune with what our audience wants. And then we're doubling down on making tools that help you to take that page and make it work for you, right, to benefit you. And so that was the big shift that we made, or the big evolution in the product. You know, I'm super thankful for the outcome, because, you know, it's 4 months later, and it's like, wow, that worked.
You also saw before as like a big problem that people were not actually they had a page, but they didn't have lots of text or good text on the page.
Yes.
And you found a way how to overcome that?
Yes, so this is counterintuitive. So we call it onboarding. Onboarding is essentially when you sign up, you acquire a customer, right? So you're new to the service and we ask you a few questions and get you into the flow of setting up your page. And in our old onboarding flow, we did that in 2 or 3 steps. And what would happen is, it was almost like you stumbled upon the site and you were a customer, right? You know what I mean? But what wasn't happening, we weren't getting people to do the thing that we needed them to do, which was to make a really super high quality page. Because if they make a super high quality page, you're going to use the page. And if you use the page, then you'll get value out of it. If you get value out of it, it'll keep you as a consistent customer. So we actually changed our onboarding flow from those 2 to 3 steps to 18. And when you do that,
so that's counterintuitive, right?
it's counterintuitive. So we really broke it down into lots of small steps. And so what happens is you give potential new customers 15 more opportunities to say, you know, I'm out, right? And at the same time, if they do complete the flow, they end up with a great page, right? A really great page. So we did that. The second thing that we did is we built it entirely from a mobile perspective. So we scrapped building it from the browser perspective, and we just went to mobile. We said, how do we make it so everybody can actually make a great page in 2 minutes or less? So if you have a phone, go for it. Try it while you're sitting there listening. You should be able to do it. And we did that by leveraging some pretty nifty technology, which crawls the web and figures out where existing photos are, where existing information is, and putting you in a position where you can just react to it, right? You could always come back and edit it later. And so what's happening now is that the pages, we've made it pretty challenging to make a bad page. It's pretty easy to make a beautiful page.
So you focus on quality
Quality.
more than quantity. But the numbers have been really good, right?
The numbers have been fantastic because we took a little dip in our signups, our number of new customers, but the percentage of completed pages went up exponentially. And then people adding it to their email signature, or putting links in their social bios, or creating a digital business card, all those numbers just went up like tenfold. And that's ultimately the value of the service.
That's good.
So it's great.
You thought it was a brave step to do to make things different? Like
Yeah.
counter UX design.
Well, the first thing, I was fortunate in that, or we were fortunate as a company in that we had a guy by the name of Jeff Bean, who's a legend in Silicon Valley. And honestly, certainly top 3 UX designer in the
I
world.
think some people would know.
I'm sure there's people in here who knew, but a lot of you should know who Jeff Bean is. So Jeff Bean, I was on his board at another company called Typekit. Typekit was acquired by Adobe. He worked at Adobe for 3.5 years. He built the Creative Cloud business for them. Fastest growing business ever, from $0 to $1 billion in income. And I went to Jeff, who's a good partner, and I said, hey, listen, I'm thinking about doing a pretty big refresh and reset on About.me. And he said, why? Because it's so big. I'm like, well, but I just feel like we should strive for better. We should keep trying to make it better. And he's like, okay, so tell me the problems. And so at the end of that, he agreed to come on for 1 year and to lead the product work. So him, and then he brought on our current head of product, Mindy Lauk, who's amazing. Brought on a guy by the name of Naz Hamidi, who's one of the best designers probably in all Silicon Valley. He did the design. And we have a tremendous engineering team led by Andy, and we're just lucky. It's great. So yes, I felt it was brave. It's always brave when you change something that's working. It's easy to change something that's not working.
So is that what you got a Series B, right?
Yeah, we did get a Series B. $11 million, yeah.
Is that what it went for the redesign of the new features?
Paying for my hotel.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Just this one? How long are you staying?
No. No, so the $11 million we used to just buy ourselves time, right? And we're just starting now converting into premium paid plans. And that I showed you some graphs outside, and she'd tell you she's seen the graphs.
That's the best looking graph ever.
Pretty crazy graphs. Just that's what the money is for. We have most of it left. And, we're smart about money.
I know you are. So going back to some other things apart from About.me, you are as both a founder and investor, currently a partner in True Ventures. So you said at a certain point, my investment in Outpost influenced me the most and reflects best the way I invest and manage my involvement with startups. At Outpost, I bought into the relationships and their lean startup philosophy, and in turn found my passion for getting involved in companies in their infancy. So what was so special about Outpost?
So I bet you nobody but here. Does anybody know what Outpost is? Outpost. There you go. Outpost is one of the more important companies you've probably never heard about. I think PC Magazine called it the 4th most important invention of all time. And so it was started in 2001, 2002, which is right after the dot-com bust. It was one of the first companies to leverage protocols that we now call AJAX. AJAX was fondly referred to as DHTML back in the old school days. It's what makes the web interactive, right? It's largely what makes the web interactive. It makes it so you can move objects. And so Outpost was building webmail. And I got involved with the founders, Ethan Diamond, Ian Lamb, and then the CEO, Tony Schneider, who's now my partner, and they co-founded Sphere. And it was a different time. We came out of this era where to start up a company, you needed $5 million to $7 million just to build a product, an alpha product. And all of a sudden I met these guys who were like 6 guys. They were kind of like rock stars. They were living like rock stars in the sense that they were living out of their car, like starving rock stars. And they were working out of a library for free. They continued to do that for a long time, even after they had money. One of the guys sold his car to be able to pay for buying some servers. And it was just eye-opening to me to invest in this company. I think, we invested $1 million. They didn't really use it. They didn't really need it, right? Because they were so capital efficient. And they were building so quickly. in a very interactive way. And the aha moment I had for me was like, oh my God, you know, the web, we've moved from this point where every time you want to build something, you have to write the code from scratch to, there's repositories of code laying around that you can grab and then you can manipulate, and you could just do things so much more efficient. And it was just a generational jump, the entrepreneurs. So working with them just told me, like, wait a minute, like, invest earlier, take more risk, get really comfortable with risk, really maximize risk, like in the sense of, so what if I lose all my money on this? It doesn't matter, right? Because you have so many other opportunities for something to work that will ultimately make a lot of money, right? So you get exponential lift. And so for me, it was just, it changed everything the way I thought about entrepreneurship, being a venture capitalist, to a point where I decided I could do it myself, right? So I founded my first company, Sphere, and that became a fairly large, big success, and a great personal success, you know, for me, that I could do it, right? But we did it with a small team, distributed team. I learned that from Matt Mullenweg, from WordPress, watching him. It was mind-boggling, you know, like, I'd go to the office and there was just one person, yet, you know, 1% of all websites in the world were running on WordPress. Now it's 26%. 26% of all websites in the world run on WordPress. That's mind-boggling. 400 employees. I think Sarah might be in the room here. Maybe I've got
Sarah, and we have a couple of guys who are from Montenegro working for us.
Oh, good. Are there any mathematicians in the house?
See?
Awesome. There's our people. Thank you.
Does anybody have questions? Maybe we should give it to the audience. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Huh? Can you raise your hands again? Yeah.
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 Sure. Right.
How do you approach targets? So what attracts your attention? What is interesting for you to invest and develop, and in what stage?
Yeah, that's great. Great question. I'm interested in what I call founders of movements, people that I think have the capacity and weirdness to really over-index on a problem that they perceive is significant. So I'll give you some examples. Blue Bottle Coffee, James Freeman. You know, it's a very atypical investment for a venture capitalist or venture capital firm, technology firm to make. Blue Bottle Coffee has nothing to do with technology, right? But when I met James, what blew me away is that he shared some of the same characteristics that I saw in a Matt Mullenweg, or experience with a Matt, in that he had this vision for the way that his product intersected and impacted your life, right? And everything down to, everything from, you know, where do you source the beans? And the beans have to be organic. This is 10 years ago when people weren't really talking about organic. And that the farmers that were actually growing these beans would adhere to the strictest, the strictest standards of sustainability and what's right for our planet kind of going forward. And that you could get small batch beans that had different flavor characteristics, and that you could roast them in a different way and have a different philosophy about how fresh those beans need to be. And if they're not, once they're 10 days and older, throwing them away. No other coffee shop in the world does that, trust me, right? To having an experience for the consumer of simplifying, stripping out all those weird words, venti, grande, or whatever those words are. I don't even know what they are. You know, I never know if I'm ordering a small, large, or medium, or extra large. And all the flavorings, and all the decisions that you have to make, and that whole process is just stress. It just doesn't make any sense. And it's not beautiful, it's not elegant, it's not delicious, right? And James had that point of view, and kind of maniacal OCD-ness about him that totally attracted me. And you kind of look forward today now, Blue Bottle is a company that is on its way to being a public market company. This is a massive company that's being built, and it's because they adhere to that vision that James has. And so that's what I get really excited about. You know, Brie Pettis was not the person who started 3D printing, but he certainly was the face of it. right? He was the evangelist. He was the person who was able to put it into a context that not only you as a user understood, but the people that were working with him and the partners who were working with him also could understand and buy into. And so when I see that in a founder, that gets my attention. And I've become less dogmatic about it having to be technology. It could be non-technology. I did a chocolate company called Mass Brothers, I should say I did, but we did as a firm. And I led the investment course called Mass Brothers out of Brooklyn. Same thing. An amazing founder with a vision of how chocolate's going to impact the world, right?
Good, thanks.
Let's go right here. Great person.
One. Here.
Hi, my name is Jovana. I've been on your platform since 2011 on About.me, and fun fact, the first business cards I ever had in my life are from your collaboration with Moo.com.
Which is going to come back.
Really, I'm really excited about it. Although now I don't live in New York, I'm in Serbia, so it's going to be hard to ship it.
We're going to get them to you.
Awesome. So my question to you is, I would be interested to find out how many people are upgrading now and what age group are those people?
So that was the graph that I was referring to. We're now getting, in our onboarding flow, we're getting 18% of the people signing up to do the things we want them to do, meaning add it to their email signature. That's the number one thing that we want you to do. Thank you. Or add it to your Twitter bio or other social services, add a link, to that page, because that's where people go. They're curious about you, right? You shouldn't make it so hard for them to figure out who you are. You shouldn't make them go Google you. That's right, exactly. And so now we're offering pro plans which allow you to buy a .me URL, your name, Jovana.me, if you can get. And to add that to a premium template, and you'll see what will start happening now. Now that we know this is working, and we just literally know in the last maybe month that this is finally working, because it's been 3.5, 4 months. We're now starting to put much more emphasis on offering up paid-for plans that allow you to get your name, to have a premium template that you can use, to have analytics that you can unlock. Soon you'll be able to add an email address to it, so from About.me, which would be great. Just all those kinds of tools are just going to start getting added to it. It's great. So it's exciting. We're really excited about that.
We have Ethan there.
Okay, just a quick one. How many steps did you do today?
Today sucks. Today's not a good day. Today I've only done 4,000 steps, but my wife Mary, who's back there, will tell you that I did swim for about 40 minutes.
Okay, that counts.
All right. So I'm not totally inactive today. But this week I've done, in the last 7 days, I've done almost 200,000 steps. Yeah. So I run and I do lots of other crazy stupid stuff.
Can I ask you what's next for About.me?
Well, I alluded to it. I think you'll start to see, if you're a premium, what we call pro user, you'll see lots more functionality coming out. It'll be subtle to you, but it'll just come out every couple of months. You'll see more and more things that we'll add. I think we have a big partnership opportunity that we're, that we'll announce probably in the fall. I can talk about it, but it's not official. But with Moo, which I think I was just with Richard Maras, the founder CEO in London last week. So we'll double down on tools that really help this kind of freelancer market, giving you really the tools that you need to do your job, right, for things. So that's really exciting.
Yeah. So the title of this fireside chat is Scaling Your Company, Scaling Yourself. That sounds amazing. How do you scale? Where do you scale more than what you're already?
Well, scale, from a company, the thing I've learned, the common characteristic of all of these successful companies or big traction companies is really the founder or founders having this vision of how their product works, right? And generally what it comes down to is the reason why they're able to articulate it so clearly is because it's so dead simple. And I think so simplicity is really very, very important. The other thing about scaling is, and I learned this probably more from Automatic and WordPress and from Matt than any other founder, is to constantly challenge the way things are done and just say bullshit, you know, and
Add 18 more steps.
and add 18 more steps. That's right. You know, that just is so counterintuitive. And it's, for us, what it is saying, you know, we don't care about these metrics that society and media has decided are the important metrics. You know, monthly active users. You know, honestly, I don't care if you don't log back into our product. I do care that you use our product, right? And using our product is, if you set it up and that page represents you and your story and your DNA in the way that you want, I hope that you've added it to your email signature, that you use it on your business cards, that you point to it when you're being introduced to people with a link in your, you know, in your introduction, or you add it to your social sites. And if you do that, and you periodically come and you log in, and you make updates to it, to me that's a win, right? But the way that media and society and everything, it's all about like monthly active users. And when you start to do that, you start to chase the wrong objectives, and you can see that on About.me, right? I can feel it. Like, we were creating billions, I mean billions of compliments and connections and crazy numbers that any venture capitalist, if I showed them, they'd go like, wow, like I want to be involved in that. But it didn't do anything for you. You know, I had 100,000 people or something like that that gave me a compliment in 2014. Love your page, great bio, great photo, whatever. What did it do for me?
Yeah.
It made me feel good about myself, but I already feel good about myself. So I'm not sure what I needed from it, right? So I think that when you're scaling, you have to really strip out the nonsense and think about what's important and have constraint, especially in your design, in your product, that gets people to do the thing you want them to do. Keep coming back to that one thing I want you to do, add it to your email signature. If you do that, we win.
So it's also rethinking your goals.
That's one thing.
Okay.
The other thing too, as I've learned, you know, in trying to do these different roles of being a venture capitalist and being a startup founder and a CEO, which is quite demanding, you know, all three of them. You know, I've learned that, you know, I don't really have the answers. And a long time ago, I stopped having the answers. My job is to know who knows the answers and to really be able to scale that knowledge, right? Because I can't scale my time. I can't solve the problems for each one of my portfolio companies or my founders. I can listen carefully. I can always be available for a call or for a coffee or meeting. But what I can do is then connect them with 4 or 5 entrepreneurs that I know have solved that problem recently, right? Or have had to deal with that problem recently. And making that connection and leveraging our platform of founders is something that we do incredibly well, and that I've learned a lot about doing.
Okay, so that's scale.
That's scale.
Good. Is there any more questions?
I hope.
There's one.
Great.
Yeah. It's
Come on.
It's the light. I didn't see it.
Yeah. I believe you. No problem. Tony, one question. So you have all those startups just coming to you, either pitching, you select a few of them and they do their job. What is your attention span on their business? How much time you spend looking after them for how long? And also, when are you sick of their not delivering? When do you say, I don't want to work with you anymore?
I'm generally not sick of them for not delivering. So the thing I spend a lot of time on is first, the way I source deals. I don't source deals directly. In my email inbox in any given day, there's a minimum of 50 people, 50 different companies, right? I have zero capacity to figure out which ones I can meet with and not. And I just can't do it anymore, right? And so I wish I could, but I can't. So I'm very dependent on who introduces me to the company. right? And so I tend, at this point in my career, I have good network and I've had decent success. So I can depend on those founders who I'm already working with to almost do an initial screening. And when, if Matt Mullenweg sends me an introduction, says I'd like to, to meet this person, I will absolutely meet with them. I will make it a priority to meet with them. So I'm already reducing the number of meetings I have to do, but I'm also increasing exponentially my chance for success because I'm not being dependent on my own screening. I'm really being codependent on the screening of those people I trust who are around me. So it gets back to that scale kind of question. The thing that I always have the most regret about, though, after I fund a company is I spend a lot of time panicked that I don't spend enough time with them. And I think that's both good and bad. I think as an entrepreneur, I actually don't want my investors to spend too much time with me because they bet on me, they're trusting me, let me do my thing, I don't want to be distracted. And investors can be very distracted. At the same time, there are points when, Brad Fennell led the investment from Foundry Group in our company, or Phil Black from True Ventures, who's my partner. They're excellent. They know when to check in, right? They just know how to make themselves present. Every month or two, just at the right moment. And it's super helpful for bouncing questions or just giving general kind of update on how we're doing. And so I try to emulate that as much as possible. There are certain companies where I have an intuitive sense of what it is they need, the founder needs. Blue Bottle is a good one for me. It's not tech, so it's fun for me to work on. It's different. It's challenging. The founder knows. James, has built a beautiful brand, beautiful experience, beautiful small business. But to scale it to like the next level, right, and be able to serve as many delicious cups of coffee to as many people in the world, there's a lot of things where we as investors can be super helpful, right, in giving them the nudge and building out his team and all that. So hyperactive in a company like that. Whereas on WordPress at this stage, I text with Matt, but I'd say we only talk about WordPress and the challenges in the business maybe once every 3 or 4 months. I think what Matt gets from me or what he needs from me and what I need from him are very different at this stage. It's more just support, mental support. It's just being part of the journey and the security of that. It's like family, at this stage with him. So, if I'm on his board or not on his board, it's somewhat irrelevant to me. He'll get the same amount of value where he needs value. If Matt called me up and said, hey, listen, we have a crisis, right? I'd stop everything I'm doing except for my responsibility to my personal, about .me. I would stop everything I'm doing and I would focus on him. I'd give him every minute I could. But that's probably not going to happen.
I have a question here. So, for you as a VC, what is the next big thing, and are you starting to see the shift investment-wise towards startups that use AI and Internet of Things as facilitators?
I don't care about the next big thing. I've never, I'm not smart enough, informed enough, passionate enough to figure out what the next big thing is. I really am not.
You're still invested in 3D printers.
Well, I end up in the next big thing a lot, right? And we're investors. I'm an investor in Uber, so we've got a good nose for getting to the next big thing. I just really listen to the founders, right? The founders always know. The founders are the ones who are figuring it out, not the venture capitalists. If the venture capitalist is figuring it out, then it's too late. Venture capitalists are not good at figuring out where the market can go. We're really good at understanding if the timing of a market makes sense when the founder or the entrepreneur is able to articulate their vision.
So it's all about the founder.
All about the founder.
Good. Do we have more questions? I see-
First,
no,
a
okay.
small comment and then question. 2 years ago, we were up on that stage and Vanya came up to the mic and said, because you mentioned about bringing in new people to SparkMe, and he said, will you bring Veronica Belmont to SparkMe? So 2 years later, Veronica Belmont is at SparkMe, so thanks for that.
You know, Veronica is amazing. Veronica just joined our board of directors at About.me. And I don't know, Veronica, are you even in here? Oh my gosh, she's really stood me up. You have to give her a hard time. Veronica's amazing, and you'll see. She's speaking tomorrow evening.
Yes.
She's thoughtful. She's part of the millennial generation.
We know.
She's amazing. So I'm really glad that she's coming.
We know.
Yeah. In fact, I have a video.
Okay.
Rita, can we?
We have a
do the
video?
So listen, this video is going to be a little long. It'll be awkward for us to sit up here. It's going to go for two minutes. But last year we launched our.
There are so
There you
many
go.
different
Just watch it.
versions of myself online. My LinkedIn page tells one story, while Facebook and Twitter tell another one. You have to do a lot of digging to get the whole picture. I'm Veronica Belmont. I moved to San Francisco over 10 years ago to be a part of something different. It truly is a place where all of my passions come together. It's an inspiring place for me because I love being so close to nature while also being right at the forefront of technology and innovation. It's clear that the people here want to change the world, whether it's through technology, politics, or art. It's always evolving. And in a way, I feel like I'm kind of evolving right along with it. My morning routine changes depending on what project is on deck for the day. As a freelancer, that could be anything from script writing to being on location for a shoot, but it always starts the same, coffee and bodega. My husband and I raised her for Guide Dogs for the Blind. She decided that she wanted to be a pet more than a working dog, so we adopted her full time. All these different things that make us who we are, wife, volunteer, podcaster, advisor, video game nerd, they're all hard to piece together when you simply search for someone online. It's important for me to be able to tell my own story. When I'm podcasting or making a new web video, what I love most is bringing together a community of people from around the world with shared interests, whether that be science fiction and fantasy books or the latest gadgets. What I also love about podcasting in particular is that anyone can do it. You just have to find something you're obsessed enough to talk about every week. That's kind of the hard part, but the listeners always keep you going no matter what. We really only have an instant sometimes to make a lasting impression or to move someone to take action. Being able to have control over that moment is pretty powerful. Spotlight makes it incredibly easy. I have the story I want to tell in my bio, but when I want someone to take action, I can decide what part of myself I'm really putting out there. I'm Veronica Belmont, and I use my About.me page to help people listen to my podcasts, support my charity, and hire me.
Anyways, I hope you like that. We haven't edited it quite yet. It's a little long, but we shot that a couple years ago. We unveiled one of our videos. So last night I thought, we should just show it. We haven't shown that anywhere, so you're the first to see it. But that's Veronica. So thank you for your question.
And it was not staged.
Hey, listen, I'd just like to thank everybody here that's at Spark.
And the question, what lights you Spark?
About Spark?
Yeah.
Well, Spark is like, it's great. It's I came to I think the first or second one, and it was a lot smaller, and a lot less of this, and it's really grown up in a beautiful way. The quality of the speakers is fantastic, and the quality of the audience is definitely much higher standard
We
than
scale.
at the beginning of the
We all
year.
scale.
Well, there's more people, but the quality of the people I interact with are fantastic. It's tells me that there's a bit of a movement here in the region around entrepreneurship, around technology, and that's super exciting kind of to see. You know, it's really wonderful. But you know, there's been Vanya and Sanya and Giovanna and Kelly who's over there, and Predrag and you, Natasha, and you've just been an amazing partners to all of us at About.me, at WordPress, and other things that we're involved in. So thank you. And you guys should give them a round of applause.
I just don't know what to say whenever you say it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That would be right. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.